Hello everyone, today I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing a video step-by-step of my latest terrain piece. It's going to be an under construction office building, specifically for LexCorp. Anyway, the first step here is that I've got a 16 by 16 inch cut piece of MDF ready to go, and right now I've got my handy Dremel tool and I'm grinding down the edges a bit just to make a round edge to the whole thing. Anyway, I'll keep checking back with these videos as I do more. Another update here. As you can see, I've taken my sheet of MDF and I've beveled the edges. The next thing I did was I went in and I lightly roughed in on pencil the layout of the building I wanted to make. Next step was I took this Power City construction set, this toy building thing for skyscraper construction, and I'm not sure if I would really recommend this. I'm not sure that it would be easier or better than, say, just buying a bunch of I-beams, plastic I-beams at a model railroad shop, but this is what I tried. In order to get the scale right, I had to double up some of the connections and turn it on its side, so really it would be a lot smaller and it would go like this. But I turned it this way, and so the height is about 3 inches, which is not bad for the Batman miniatures game, Marvel Universe miniatures game, that kind of thing. So I took that, and the layout works pretty well. It fits pretty well in this direction. So that's good news. So after I got those dimensions figured out, I could go into the MDF and I could do some more exact measurements. And so I put down a more exact layout. I just drew it in right here. You can lightly see that. And so then with all that in mind, I was able to plan out the rest of the model, terrain piece, and I went to this foam board stuff and I figured out what I would need for all the dimensions, and I was able to cut all that out. So there you have that. There are all the pieces that I've cut out. So now the next step is to start assembling the foam board onto the MDF and gluing all that down. See how that goes. Alright. Another update here. As you can see, I've taken the foam board and I've glued it all together. For that I used this stuff here, Wood Glue Max. I don't really love using hot glue guns. A lot of people do, but I don't like the way it makes those beads that are really hard to remove. I could have used just regular Elmer's white glue, but that takes a really long time to dry. This stuff is kind of nice. I sort of like it for a lot of projects, so that's what I used. Anyway, that's all glued together, and as you can see, I've taken a cereal box, part of that, and I've traced the pattern onto there, and then I cut that out. This is going to be the floor of the interior. As you can see, I'm setting it up so that part of the building is created, but you can still enter in through the main lobby. That's still sort of open. That's the concept. The next step is I'm going to glue all this down, and I'm going to take this all-purpose spackling paste. I'm going to run a bunch of that goop over the edges and sand those down to hide the places where the foam board is stuck together. So yeah, there it is. Okay, so I've glued everything down and I've applied spackling paste to all the corners and exposed foam edges. So now I've just put that out in the sun for a while. I'm going to let all that dry, and the next step will be sanding that down to try and get that somewhat smooth. So I've got the spackle sanded down, so that job's done. So the next step that I'm working on is I'm taking these Power City construction toys that you can see here, and I am starting to take my X-Acto blade and I'm snipping off these various tabs so that I can set up the next layer of girders. So start looking a little something like that. All nice and neat. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just trying to get rid of all these little things. So that's what I'm working on. So as you can see, I'm partway through shaving down the little tabs off of these girders and gluing them onto the building itself. I've made some small platforms or unfinished floors to attach there to give a couple extra levels for the games, and yeah, it's coming along. As you can see, I've finished putting all the girders in place, as well as interspersing a few of these platforms here and there, just to give it little extra areas to be able to use in game. So the top is essentially finished, but once I got all that set up, the bottom just looked a little bit too plain. I know it's supposed to be an under construction skyscraper, it's going up and everything, but it just didn't look real enough to me. So I went and I cut out additional pieces. Here's kind of this M piece that I cut out of foam board, same stuff as I used before, and I also did that on the sides. So I glued those on. I'm holding them in place with this painter's masking tape. When that dries tomorrow, I'm going to add some additional details. I'm going to take some thinner card and put a couple of strips in there. I'm roughly basing the look of this on the Smallville Luthor Corp building. I saw some pictures of online, not directly, but some of the architectural details I'm taking from that. And then, yeah, then I'll have to do the same thing with the spackle, put those on those edges, sand those down, and then do some of the final details, and then that should put us in good shape. I'll show you how it goes. Another day, another little bit further on this project. As you can see, a box of Ritz crackers has given its life to add a little extra detail here. I'm not sure if I'm going to make these upper areas windows or just leave them as part of the walls. I'll have to decide on that later. Anyway, as you can see, I have put the spackle on all the edges that I just added. I've sanded those down, and this is ready to go as far as all that's concerned. I have also, if we'll just move around here, you can see a couple in there, but let's go around to the back here. I've taken some of more of that Ritz cracker box cardboard, and I've cut out these little U shapes, and I've made doorways. And let's zoom in a bit there. You can just barely see that I've taken some old excuse me, handles from, of all things, the old Space Orc Battle Wagon kit, probably from like 30 years ago. Anyway, these were handles. I cut off part of the base and part of the handle to make door handles for all these doors. Let's see if we can see the rest of them. I've got 5 of them in total.
No.
Yeah. But anyway, with that, the next step was to spread a bunch of glue. I've got my son here who disagrees. I spread a bunch of glue onto the MDF base, and then I just lightly sprinkled some sand to give it a little texture around the edge. So yeah, this thing is completely modeled, and the next step will be to paint it. So that'll be coming up. The first step in the painting process is complete. I've just gone over with some regular black, and I've brushed it on all the areas that have the foam from the foam board. So all those plastered and sanded edges. I just wanted to try to make sure that when I hit it with the spray paint, it's not going to dissolve that styrofoam in between. Now, for those of you who have seen my video on my helipad, you may remember that I said I wasn't going to do this. It didn't work as well as I thought, and next time I would make one of these buildings, I would coat the edges with glue and let that dry and try and seal it up a little bit better that way. Well, I'm a little bit concerned about time. You see, this is a project I said I would have ready for a tournament coming up on Saturday, and right now it's Wednesday. So I'm a little bit worried that if I take the extra step of coating all this with glue and letting that dry, it's going to put me too far behind. As it is, I'm having some I'm starting to have some concerns about painting this. Not necessarily it's going to be too challenging, but that it's just physically hard to get a paintbrush. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. It's just hard to get a paintbrush into these areas due to all these girders and just everything being a little bit too small for my giant farmer hands. So yeah, I'm not really sure how all this is gonna go. Obviously you'll see when it's done, but we'll see what we can do. The next stage, I'm just gonna let these edges dry, and then I'm gonna try and hit it with the black spray paint. And by that I mean that nice Games Workshop modeling spray, undercoat cast black. I want to at least get these girders, which are otherwise going to be a real pain to get every little nook and cranny, and the baseboard, which is going to end up a very dark color. I'm not too worried if I don't get all of the foam board. That's mostly going to be brush painted anyway. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. A bit has happened since my last update. I managed to spray paint the whole thing, which was a little bit trickier than I was hoping because I did run out of my nice spray paint. So I actually finished the model off with regular Krylon Painter's Touch black flat spray paint. I would never do this on a miniature, but I figured the last couple times I used that stuff, it left kind of an interesting spotted texture on the thing. So I thought maybe if I held it back far enough, it would turn out okay. It wouldn't get, what I didn't want was I didn't want it to get too globby. I didn't want big globs of paint sticking to the thing, and I think it actually ended up being okay. So I think I got away with it. Again, I only really spray painted the girders and the base. I tried to go pretty light on the walls and floors. So I think I did okay. I didn't see any of the foam getting dissolved, so again, that's all right. And then I went in with my Delta Ceramcoat super cheap paints. I did a coat of rain gray on all the basic areas of the concrete. And then after that, which was of course very difficult because getting a paintbrush into these areas way in there with my big hands was hard. And so yeah, I'm a little worried that actually putting models in there is going to be difficult. If I were to do this again, I would probably either make this detachable so that I could just take it off and on. That would make it a lot easier to paint and a lot easier to get models into the center area, or just make it larger. Just go the whole distance and make a really gigantic piece. As it is, this thing is huge. But you know, if I want something that's playable in the middle, I might actually want to make it larger, you know, 24 by 24 or something like that. Anyway, after that, I went in and I took my, what is this, charcoal, and I did a wash. So I've even got a little bit, it's still wet in there. So you see I mixed up a big thing of soup, a lot of water, and I just went over the whole thing. Slop that on every surface that is the concrete, and then let that dry. And so we are ready to start dry brushing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over it with the rain gray, do a quick dry brush around there, bring it back to the original color to a certain extent, while still leaving some of this darker color pooled in the recesses. And then I'll probably go a couple lighter dry brushes after that, drizzle gray, and depending on how all that turns out, maybe a final highlight of white. We'll see. Anyway, that's it. Another day and the project continues to move forward, but I am running out of time. As you can see, I've done the dry brushing and highlighting on the concrete areas. That turned out pretty nice. I don't think I'm going to turn those into windows. I kind of like the way they look. And then I spent the rest of the time painting all these girders a nice deep red, which was a monstrously long project and took a really long time. Yeah, definitely, if anyone tries to replicate this project, make these two halves separate. and just take this aside and spray paint it some nice dark red color. Don't do what I did. It was a long project and I didn't really care for it that much. So the next thing I gotta do is I think I'm gonna make a darker red wash and just coat all this stuff, try and even out some of the splotchy parts of this, and then I start dry brushing, which hopefully will go a lot faster. Anyway, that's an update. Okay, we're very nearly finished here. So this was a long process. If you're playing along at home, what I did was I took this barn red color here and I painted all the girders that. Then I took a wash, you can see that kind of dried out in the middle of my paint tray here, of a little black mixed with the barn red, and I smeared that all over that, and that kind of evened out a very splotchy paint job, so that was good. Then I took a dry brush of Adobe, and then I took a final light dry brush of pumpkin, I believe. What is this, bittersweet orange? Oh, never mind, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, the girders are done. I'm reasonably happy about how those all turned out. I went in and you can see I cleaned up the base. I painted that black. That's going to get highlighted. I went and I made each door the drizzle gray and gave it a wash of rain gray, just trying to make those stand out a little bit. The interior floor, I tried to make it like the flooring material was a little bit fancier. I probably just shouldn't have even bothered. Anyway, what I did was I painted it all rain gray and gave it a wash of this midnight blue, try to make it look just a little different. Then I gave it a dry brush of drizzle gray and white. Anyway, so this is almost done. The only things that remain are, I'm going to, like I said, highlight this with charcoal and then rain gray. I'm probably gonna give a little, I don't know, like some kind of lighter color on these doors, like a white, possibly, I'm not sure. And then I'm gonna paint the door handles silver. And that is going to be it. So yeah, this project will be finished today, and that will be good. It'll be in time for the tournament, and everything is going according to plan. And so here it is. It's completed. It's about 8:30 on the night before the tournament, but this thing is done. And so I threw a quick scene together here to show everything, you know, size-wise to how it lines up. I'm pretty happy about this. I think I might have scaled this thing up a little bit bigger than I needed to, but for something like this, I think I'd rather have it larger than smaller. Anyway, I'm real happy with how these guys fit in here. I thought it would be a real tight fit moving things around, but even my big stupid hands can kind of get in there and move dudes about. So yeah, should be ready. This is my Mr. Freeze gang for tomorrow's tournament. So the last steps that I did, I went and did a couple dry brushes in charcoal and then rain gray on this baseboard here. I went in on the doors, and as you can see, I re-glued my handle there. I painted it silver. It just got a dark silver, light silver on the top of it, and that's glued back in place. The doors got a very thin white highlight just to try and make them stand out from the walls. Didn't really succeed. That's okay. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think this is a successful piece. It's large, that's for sure. I mean, it's big. These bat match table setups, I mean, this is a big ask for terrain from this game, I have to say. I was looking at those bat match requirements, and they want 4 buildings 6 inches high, 4 inches wide, and 6 inches long. Those are big. I mean, this here, this is 6 inches tall, so I mean, this building is substantially larger than that, but still, for someone who doesn't have that terrain, for someone who plays other games, I mean, that's a lot to fill up a table with, and that's not even including like smaller pieces of urban furniture, small pieces of terrain, smaller buildings, that kind of thing. Anyway, but enough of that. So hopefully this will help out with the tournament. I'm hoping I can have a whole table of just my stuff. We'll find out. The tournament organizer will have to be the one to make that decision. But I got it. In the future, there are a couple things that I might consider doing. I'm going to zoom in here. You can see if you can tell. So there are some little specks of red around on these platforms where just splatters of red paint got when I was dry brushing all these girders. If I really wanted to, I could go in with a little gray and cover up some of those. It kind of sounds like more trouble than it's worth. I'm probably just going to leave it. One thing I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to hit the whole thing with some of that Citadel Purity Seal. Just spray it down, give it a little bit of protection from wear and tear. I don't want to do it today. First off, it's night and it's just going to take forever to dry. If I leave it outside, it's not going to dry. If I bring it inside, it's just going to stink up the house. So it's going to make it really smelly. Everyone's going to smell it at the tournament. I don't think that that's necessary. It'll survive for one day, and then when I get an opportunity, I'll hit it with that spray varnish. The other thing that I could do is go in with a little brown wash, black wash, colored washes. Just add some seeping stains, just grime it up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to go and do that either. This is a new construction. I don't think it's going to have the opportunity to get really corroded like a lot of the other Gotham buildings are. I could do it on the base here, but even then, you know, it's got a lot of traffic going around. It's got new construction. I don't think it's necessary. I think I'm going to skip that step. So yeah, with that, I'm going to call this thing done, and hopefully it'll add to some people's experience and the tournament. And yeah, maybe just give a quick shot from the other side of the building. There you can see that entrance there. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.